For decades, the Alien franchise has been a staple of the sci-fi universe, and whether you're a fan of the movies or like to experience the horror of a facehugger yourself in one of the games, there's no doubt this is one of the most iconic series in the science fiction genre. Hey there friends, it's Kodiak here, one half of the team behind Legacy Gaming, and today we're diving into Aliens Fireteam Elite to provide you with a very special Ultimate Preview. Before we get into the video, I want to thank Cold Iron Studios for providing us with early access to Aliens Fireteam Elite. Everything you're about to see is from a preview build within the game, and that means things might change before release. Usually when we put together an Ultimate Preview, we don't have the opportunity to play the game ahead of time. We compile all the pre-released information and present it to you so that you can get a clear picture of what to expect when the game launches. However, in this case, we got to go hands-on with Aliens Fireteam Elite and not only check out the first few minutes of the game, but got unfettered access to the title a month before its release. We'll do our absolute best to share and show you everything you need to know about the game, but as always, if you have further questions, feel free to ask us in the comments section below. To start off, Aliens Fireteam Elite is a 3-player PvE co-op game. You'll play through various missions alongside 2 friends online, or with 2 synth allies either online or offline, as you rip through xenomorphs and take down enemy synths. During our preview, we got to play through 2 campaigns made up of 3 missions each. The missions are roughly 20 to 30 minutes long, depending on how fast you move through the level. There aren't a ton of secrets to find or areas to explore, but there's enough that you could wander for a few minutes here or there. The Aliens Fireteam experience happens one room at a time. You enter a particular space, a new objective pops on your screen, and then 9 times out of 10 you have to blast your way through waves of enemies so that you can push forward. It's a simple cycle that makes up the core of the gameplay experience, and surprisingly, it works really well. One reason for this is the world design. Narrow corridors lead into larger encounter areas, and while everything feels unified throughout each campaign, it always feels like you're moving forward. That classic dread of aliens jumping out from around a corner is perfectly captured in the first campaign when you're aboard a derelict ship, but stops just short of being a true horror experience. The second campaign manages to capture a different vibe, albeit similar, as you scour tunnels and the temple of an ancient civilization. There's no procedural generation or randomness when it comes to the world. It's a handcrafted experience, and it all helps guide the gameplay. From that perspective, these large encounter spaces are often littered with things to hide behind, pseudo-choke points, and slight verticalities which make the combat feel more varied. Your team of 3 have plenty of options when it comes to taking on the enemy, and while it's easy to get overwhelmed, you're rarely left with no alternative route. You do have the ability to hide behind walls, Gears of War style, snapping in and out of cover, and utilizing various pieces of cover works perfectly 95% of the time. You can also sprint, vault, and dodge roll, and all 3 of those things feel smooth. Character movement in general is great. Your custom-made Colonial Marine is responsive and moves around the world effortlessly, and I have yet to get frustrated because of any sort of control-related issue. If I died, it was of my own volition, and that's how it should be. Aliens Fireteam Elite is nothing without the Colonial Marines. The entire game is built up around them, as you'd expect from a third-person co-op shooter, and it shows. Each system, which we'll talk about here shortly, feeds into the cathartic experience of killing enemies, and it's for that very reason the combat feels so good. First, the basics. There is a character customization feature within the game. It won't blow anyone away, it's exactly what you'd expect from a game that puts some stock in individuality, but fails to fully commit. Between each mission is where the magic really happens, and I can honestly say the level of customization is perfect for this type of game. We got to pick between 1 of 4 classes, with a 5th one being available at launch. Each class has access to 2 primary weapon types, 2 unique abilities, and 1 class-specific passive effect. Shared between the classes are things like consumables in the form of turrets, elemental-infused ammunition, mines, and more. The great thing about these is that you can keep whatever you find. At the start of each mission, you can drop in with 2 of the items you already have in your vault, and any additional ones you find along the way that you don't use, you can keep and utilize in a future mission. You also have access to a grid-style perk system. It's not something widely used in the gaming world, but it should be, as it forces you to make important decisions about how your character performs. As you level up, you gain access to more of the grid, which means more passive buffs. It's a cool system and one we've always enjoyed when implemented in other games. The final step in that pre-match ritual are the mods. Each weapon has 3 mod slots, and while they vary slightly depending on the weapon type, for the most part, you're talking about a muzzle, magazine, and optics. You get more attachments the normal way, by completing campaigns, by finding the hidden cache in each mission, or by buying them from the hub's vendor. There's also some color and decal customization that helps to add just a bit more zing to your loadout. At launch, the team promises around 30 weapons, and those range from auto pistols that spew out bullets at an insane rate to scout rifles for players that like to sit back and pick off Xenos from a distance. The wide variety is great, and each gun feels like it's capable of handling any situation, which is important. Rifles come in a few different flavors: automatic, burst, and semi-automatic. They're your all-around gun, good for any situation, and is one of the options for the gunner, demolisher, doc, and most likely recon class. Close quarter weapons, or CQWs, range from shotguns to submachine guns and are a staple of the gunner and technician kit. As you'd expect, these are great for dealing insanely high amounts of damage in close quarters. There are also heavy weapons like miniguns and flamethrowers. Only the Demolisher has access to these, and as you'd expect, they do a lot of damage, hold a lot of ammo, but are slow to reload. Handguns are another primary weapon category within the game. We're talking hand cannons and auto pistols here, and they're just as capable of killing enemies as any other weapon type. You do have a backup pistol that has unlimited ammunition, but those are pea shooters compared to these primary weapon pistols. I also appreciate the details around each gun, specifically the damage fall-off, which is usually something min-maxers have to figure out through trial and error and meticulous testing. Add on to that the nearly 100 attachments I mentioned, and you've got yourself a nice foundation for weapons in the game. Now, let's move on to the classes. As you'd expect, each class is designed to complement group play. The gunner, who can use a rifle and close quarters weapon, comes equipped with an ability called Overclock, which allows them to shoot and reload faster, as well as a frag grenade ability. Their passive allows them to stack a damage boost as they're dealing damage. The more they shoot, the more damage they build up. The next class, the Demolisher, can make use of a rifle and heavy weapon. This is where the iconic Smart Gun comes into play, and it's probably the most fleshed out adaptation of the weapon in any Aliens game so far. The Demolisher can also launch 3 micro rockets via an ability. It can knock back enemies with a damaging AoE blast wave effect. Their passive, Clear the Room, allows the Demolisher to increase their damage when activating an ability, plus increases it further based on the number of enemies they hit with that ability. The third class, the Technician, is designed in a way that makes them perfect for controlling enemy movement, and thus is a solid choice for solo players. Technicians have access to a primary handgun and a close quarters weapon. They also have access to a stationary turret, and unlike the consumable turrets, this turret has an infinite supply of ammunition. Unless it's destroyed or picked back up, it'll keep firing. Their second ability is Charged Coils, which when thrown sticks to any surface and slightly damages, but more importantly, slows enemies. You get 3 charges of these, and they're invaluable for slowing down massive waves of enemies rushing your team. The Technician's passive cross-platform synergy gives allies standing near your turret 10% damage reduction, and when you stand near your turret, it restores 1% of its HP per second. The fourth class is the Doc. They have access to a rifle and a primary handgun. The Doc's first ability is Trauma Station. When deployed, players can stand in a radius and be healed. The Trauma Station only has a limited amount of health though. Think of it like a pool. It siphons health from the station to the player, and what's left over is in the reserve for the next guy. Docs can restore the reservoir of healing by picking up medkits. The second ability is Combat Stims, which increases accuracy and stability by 50%, stamina regen by 30%, and movement speed by 15% for you and your team. The Doc's passive is Field Medic. For each ally standing nearby, they increase their ability recharge speed by 15%. There's also a 5th class coming, a Recon Specialist, but we didn't have access to them during the preview. I would imagine they're going to have some sort of ability to help their team better track enemies, since it seems to be one of the only areas between the classes that isn't really covered. I'd also imagine they're going to have access to rifles and pistols as their primary weapons. With your Marine decked out, it's time to jump into one of the game's campaigns. The plan right now is for 4 campaigns, each with 3 missions to deploy at launch. There's also a Horde mode placeholder already in the game, which is perfect because the game is ideal for that type of mode. When selecting a mission, you can choose between one of 5 difficulties, and each difficulty really does change up the way things play. We're not just talking about simple stat increases, there are some substantial changes. For example, in the game's most challenging mode, Insane, some enemy tackles will instantly kill you. That's not something you'll experience in the standard difficulty. It's a great spectrum when it comes to challenge, and will give casual and hardcore fans alike something to get excited about. There are also challenge cards, which players can deploy before a run for the chance at more substantial rewards. Cards like I Made a Bad Call strip away all of your weapons and abilities, leaving you with just your backup pistol. But if you manage to succeed, you get 4 times the experience and an extra bonus reward at the end of a run. It's a great way to shake up the gameplay, and the various challenges also keep the experience fresh for streamers or just groups of friends that want to sit down and play the game. There are also tactical opportunities, which act as daily and weekly quests. Things like playing a certain class or beating a mission on a more challenging difficulty will grant you access to some pretty generous rewards in the form of credits, attachments, new challenge cards, and a premium currency. But don't worry, that premium currency is only used for cosmetic items. The developers are being smart and putting in a whole slew of cosmetic items that really open up your customization options as a player. Things like weapon skins, emotes, helmets, armor, and even decals, which you can dynamically move around your weapons, scale, rotate. They truly allow you to personalize each of your items. It's a really small thing, but we think a lot of players will absolutely love this. The final piece to this ultimate preview is the gameplay experience itself. I'll be honest, we were completely surprised how much we enjoyed Aliens Fireteam Elite. With 30 guns to collect, nearly 100 attachments, and a wide enough variety of Xenomorphs and Synths to blow apart, I found the balance between challenge and fun to be spot on. It's a game I could easily see myself playing for around 50 hours, if not more. It's the type of game you'd bust out when your buddies come over if you just wanted to kill a few hours, and it's a great example of how a third-person co-op shooter can be done effectively. The gunplay and the moment-to-moment gameplay is what really makes Fireteam Elite special, but the other systems like the weapon customization and the perks all feed into that experience, which helps reinforce just how good the combat actually is. In this particular preview build, we did run into numerous crashes, and it's something we have to point out because it completely took the wind out of the sails. 20 minutes of hard-fought battles ending in a crash is just awful, and something that absolutely needs to get ironed out before launch. Additionally, there are a couple important factors people should know about. Fireteam Elite will retail for around $40, with a deluxe edition clocking in around $70. This includes a metric ton of cosmetic items, so if that's your cup of tea, there you go. The game is also cross-gen, but not cross-platform. PC, Xbox, and PlayStation will not be pooled together, but within those pooled platform generations, there shouldn't be an issue. The team has also stated they plan on creating additional free content after launch, and any new paid content will be purely cosmetic. Aliens Fireteam Elite has a lot of really exciting features, and while the package is pretty simple, it's easy to get sucked in for hours on end. It's a game I can see everyone being able to pick up and enjoy no matter their skill level, and that's one of the signs of a solid title. It's also a beautifully crafted nod to the Aliens universe. Callbacks to the movies and even previous games are everywhere, and if this has been a series you've been following since the 70s, you'll feel right at home with the aesthetic, 80s-inspired action narrative, just the overall feel of the game. Aliens Fireteam Elite is slated for an August 24th release date on the PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PS4, and PS5. If you want more Ultimate Preview videos in your feed, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe. The only way we can break into the YouTube algorithm is with your help. With just a couple clicks, you can make that happen. We also invite you to join us on Discord. We've got a great community of nearly 7,000 spread across dozens of great games, but there's always room for a few more. Check out that link below to join today. Finally, if you like everything we stand for here at Legacy Gaming and you want to help us out even more, you can now do so by becoming a member. For just a couple bucks, you're helping evolve the channel and take our community to that next level. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.